Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Engage.
We knew from very early on the idea was to kill Picard.
Star Trek right now. It's a mess.
Nerdrotic.com.
As bad as Star Trek Discovery is and was, it couldn't hold a candle to Picard as far as doing damage to an intellectual property, a brand, irrevocable damage. Star Trek Picard is the last Jedi of Star Trek.
I 100% agree with you.
Why, thank you, Shil Wheaton, and you'll also know there is one notable exception to that. Unlike Mark Hamill, Sir Patrick Stewart was instrumental in the destruction of the character that made him a household name. Well, today the Picard Season 2 trailer dropped like a number 2, and as you can imagine, absolutely nobody was talking about it on Twitter. Except for those of us who had the unfortunate experience of watching Star Trek Picard in the first place. So let's recap. First off, there's Soji, who is the girl who is the key to everything, and a clone daughter of Data. If that sounds familiar, it should, because the entire series was lifted from Logan, among other things. She also wanted to kill all organic life in the galaxy and then changed her mind, and everyone was like, cool. And Raffi, an absentee mom who blames all of her problems, including her drug problems, on Picard when they're actually her own. There's the drummer from Scott Pilgrim who kills Bruce Maddox in cold blood, and everyone was like, cool. There's Rios, whose lone contribution was bringing a soccer ball to the final battle to defeat the space tentacles. Then there's Legolas, Elnor, not to be confused with Elron, the Romulan who likes to use swords in the 24th century. 7 of 9, who was always tight with Picard, as you know, in all the episodes they were never in with each other prior to this series, whose entire storyline from Voyager was trashed to become an angry lesbian. Rounded out by Jean-Luc Picard, who died and became an exact robot copy of himself after he defeated the giant space tentacles and saved the girl who was the key to everything, who called the giant space tentacles in the first place.
Unmitigated disaster.
So what was the only good thing to come out of Picard?
Sheer fucking hubris.
So the trailer starts out with a confused old man.
What the hell is happening here?
Picard is back at the vineyard where his brother, his brother's wife, and his nephew died horribly in a fire.
Mon capitaine, how I've missed you.
And they don't waste any time. There is Q, played by the great Jonathan Delancey, and my inner Star Trek fan is jumping for joy just for a brief moment until it realizes this is an Alex Kurtzman production, and I want this to be good. And sure, there's a possibility it could be, and my mind is always open to that, but I've seen Star Trek Picard Season 1 and Star Trek Discovery Season 1 through 3, who all had different showrunners, but they all felt the same. There was one commonality, and that is Alex Kurtzman. Somehow, someway, he manages to poison the well of creativity, and even talented people end up writing down to his level.
I 100% agree with you.
Thanks, Shil Wheaton.
Mon capitaine, how I've missed you.
Q.
I can't imagine that you would have signed on if this was going to be a bunch of fan service.
Welcome, my friend, to the very end.
Did Picard return to the robophobic and xenophobic Starfleet, or is this just another timeline, because alternate timelines are so hot right now?
To the very end of the road not taken.
So we've all heard there's going to be time travel, and Star Trek, in their infinite wisdom, decided to tweet this today. Time has been broken, and it led to the very predictable and appropriate response, one of them from my good friend Az from Heel vs. Babyface. It's your franchise that's fucking broken, shits.
Time has been broken.
We can save the future.
So is that a dagger on Rios's comm badge? Are we getting the Mirror Universe and Q and the Borg and 7 of 9 and Riker and Troy and Guinan?
And I will get us home.
Together?
Together.
That's funny. That's how they ended the Star Trek Discovery Season 4 trailer.
Together.
Now, this is usually the point in the trailer where it's supposed to build up to a crescendo to hook you in with the most exciting thing possibly they could show you, and they give you this. Oh my God, she doesn't have her Borg implant, and just in case you missed it, they stay on the shot for a long time. Then she points to it. It's still going. Oh, well, thank God that's over. So what did we learn? Well, let's not bury the lead here. Obviously, CBS has acknowledged that season 1 was a giant disaster and they need to fix it as quick as possible, including fixing that little problem of Jean-Luc Picard being dead.
I would love for you to talk about that.
Thanks, Shill Wheaton. I'll elaborate. In the 20-some-odd years since Nemesis, everyone has become a racist against robots, so they deliberately killed Picard so they could copy him and put him in a robot body so he would know what it was like to feel marginalized.
We wanted to put our money where our mouth was. So we were saying, hey, marginalized synths are people too.
You know, I was about to say you can't make this shit up, but they can.
What better way to make that statement than to take the character and put him with all his humanity into a synthetic form?
First off, it's hilarious that Hollywood writers like Akiva Goldsman are going to teach us lessons about marginalization when we know they treat each other so well in that town. Also, it's my belief that when you call an individual marginalized, you are marginalizing them. But the biggest problem is death is now completely meaningless in Star Trek, but don't worry, this will be one of the many trademark Kurtzman Trek abandoned plot lines. And the long-standing tradition of Kurtzman Trek, Star Trek Picard has a new showrunner. As you may or may not know, Michael Chabon came on to Star Trek Picard Season 1 about a third of the way through the season and then quit at the end. The same Michael Chabon who admitted what we all know, that Hollywood writers are petty and they deliberately put things into scripts to be divisive, to provoke fans from Variety. So, were there things about Picard you knew you wanted to do that you could sense would test some boundaries for fans? Sure. To that extent, I was aware of a kind of toxic fandom, the anti-SJW, you know, sad little corner of fandom. You just disregard that. Sometimes you're motivated to have things simply because it's possibly going to piss off or provoke people who seem to have missed the memo about just what exactly Star Trek is and always has been about. Turns out the fans never needed a memo after all, but Michael Chabon did get a pink slip, and now the Star Trek Picard Season 2 runner is Terry Matalas from 12 Monkeys, which was a show I enjoyed quite a bit, but I wouldn't hold out too much hope. As far as the reaction to the trailer here on YouTube goes, in the first 4 hours, it only had 37,000 views. Then a couple of hours later, it had 125,000 views, but only 2,200 likes. Then a few hours later, it had 800,000 plus views with only 3,100 likes. Just to give you an idea, a video with 1 million views usually has 20 to 40,000 likes. That is a suspiciously low amount of interaction, meaning there is some skullduggery going on or people just don't care. Maybe a little bit of both, but I do know that Terry Matalas has an uphill battle trying to clean up Kurtzman and Chabon and Akiva Goldsman's mess. I'd love to give Star Trek fans hope right now, but Alex Kurtzman is under contract until 2023, and here is the latest example of just how out of touch and out of sync he is with this franchise that he has been running for years. This is the Star Trek Picard Season 2 poster. What the hell does this mean? Unfortunately, I think I do know what it means, and yes, I see the insignia, and yes, the crossing freeways probably mean crossing timelines, and I did hear the Picard bot say he needs to save the future, but why bother now? Most of you didn't see this, but in the finale for Star Trek Discovery Season 3, a simpleton Kelpian had a galactic tantrum because he missed his bomb, and it destroyed all the active dilithium, destroying the Federation in the 32nd century. I've always said that the worst thing that can happen to Star Trek is to have Alex Kurtzman make more of it, and every time he does, he makes things worse. Now it looks like, to me anyway, that we could get a Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard crossover. Oh God. As far as trailers go, it wasn't terrible, but as with all things Kurtzman, the best you can get is forgettable. Star Trek is broken, and I don't think it's going to be fixed anytime soon.
I 100% agree with you.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.